The real estate market is absolutely insane. There's no rhyme or reason to what's going on. Buyers are having success. Some sellers are having success. Inventory is up. There's a lot of things going on, but I want to talk to you today about a true life story that happened just the last month, over really the last 3 or 4 weeks. And the ending is amazing. It all ends up well, but we're going to talk about how we got there and that next. What's up, guys? I'm Jeremy Kane with eXp Realty, living in the Denver suburbs over on YouTube, and just want to provide you with a true life success story, a fairy tale that wasn't necessarily all fairy along the way. So we're going to get into that. But as you know, on this channel, we talk all things real estate, market updates, all the things, strategies, everything we can do. So today we're talking about a success story. But like, comment, subscribe, shares of this with someone that maybe needs a little inspiration that it's all going to be okay. It's all going to work out in due time. And we're going to get rolling. So let me take you back to, the middle of February. I think it was February 12th when I had we were under contract. We were through the inspection, and I had the 100% awkward conversation with the listing agent, where it turned out that the seller did not have enough money to bring to the table. That's right, I said the seller, because he had purchased the home just a year in advance with, a very low down payment loan. And that's not how we got there. So take me back to the inspection. There was a few things on the inspection. We submitted an objection. Everything was great. We knew that there was, some tight funding, but not as tight as it ended up. And what we did was we submitted the objection, and in Colorado, basically that's the buyer asking the seller to, fix a few things. And then the listing agent called me and she said the seller actually is looking at, some quotes and all the things. Well, she called me back 30 minutes later, and that seller had to bring a decent amount of money to the table, which they knew earlier that day. And so she was a little bit confused why he was reaching out and why, he was, going to get quotes, because if we're bringing money to the table, if you're, getting quotes for things and improvements to fix it, she was just surprised. Well, 30 minutes later, she called me and said, seller can't do it. He doesn't have the money. He has X amount of dollars, which happened to be about a quarter of the amount that he needed to bring to the table in order to close and settle his loans and the fees and all the things. And so we worked through that. Eventually, my buyer and I came to the conclusion. I was like, look, this isn't, going to end well. Certainly we had, grounds for specific performance and to sue the seller for the entire price of the property. But ultimately, we didn't want to tie it up. My buyer wanted to get into a home. The seller was willing to reimburse the buyer for the inspection, and we basically cut ties, released him from the contract. But at that moment, I said, we're going to get you in a house and you're going to close before the end of the month. And so as we went out and we started looking again, we saw a few properties, and, one seemed to work out. Well, oddly enough, the listing agent on this one was an agent of a longtime friend from my childhood, who actually has passed away. Her mom is an agent with this other agent managing broker situation. And so that was kind of cool. It was cool to connect, with that managing broker again, the mom of an old friend of mine. And we found them the most, clean, amazing house. Not anything on the inspection report to gawk at. The inspector who had inspected the previous property was like, this house is 10 times better. And we were able to work with the team. And I told my lending partner on this one, who was Jimmy Everett, and I just said, hey man, we got to get these guys closed by the end of the month. Just out of principle. My client, had a month-to-month lease. Everything was fine. But after going through that and having that, opportunity to turn it into a major lawsuit and just ultimately say, you know what, tough times for the seller. There's no reason to tie this up in court. There's no reason to go to court until they can, solve the problem. We might as well just go find a new house. And so that's exactly what we did. So a couple things. Let's relate this back to the market now. P.S. My client closed on the last day of February, the 28th of February. He got his keys yesterday to his brand new house, his first primary residence home. He's moving his family in probably as we speak. That's probably not why he's watching right now. And just a really cool piece of this. And let me tell you, this guy and I went to, I think, elementary, middle school, and high school together. We were acquaintances. We knew of each other. But he found me because his daughter was like, hey, don't you have an old friend that has a real estate podcast and is always on Facebook and YouTube and all the things, doing that. So that's pretty cool, right? His daughter's a teenager and apparently likes to listen about real estate. Future's looking bright for her. But that was a really cool connection. He reached out. Would you help me? This is kind of what we're looking for. Absolutely. Let's go. Let's make it happen. And as the buyer, it's kind of a weird scenario because for so long it's been like, well, how's this going to go? Are we going to make it? Can we find a deal? And the truth is that right now the buyers are certainly, I wouldn't say it's a buyer's market, but they're in the driver's seat, right? You have options. You can literally walk away from one deal because the seller can't close it. You can go find a better home, get under contract. Because we were in such a crazy situation for so long with the, short timelines and things like that, the lenders are on point. They're ready to close deals as soon as possible. And that's absolutely, carried over, although it's not necessarily we need to do that to win deals and win bidding wars and that kind of stuff anymore. But it's really cool to see how quickly this process works, right? I had another buddy of mine that we went out one time, we found a perfect house, we're under contract. So the opportunity is there, the inventory is there, and the buyers have options right now. And the sellers, not to say that, anything was done wrong with this seller, because there were some surprises and things that came up on their end, but it's tight, right? To sell a home right now in this market, if you've bought in the last 3 years, you're going to be extremely tight. I have 4 listings going active tomorrow that are 3 of 4 are quicker turnarounds, whether, it's a family moving back to Texas because they want to go back home, or it's somebody that just has a too big of a house and wants to downsize, or it's somebody else that, bought an attached home in, the heart of Denver, great little home, and those things just haven't appreciated at a level enough to pay the fees and to pay the commissions and to do all of those things like they had in the past. For 5 years before that, it was like, okay, you bought the house last year, it's gone up 50, 60,000. We can cover that. You can take your money and go. But now it's a little bit tighter. And for this seller, the payoff was more than he was expecting, right? There's interest that goes into it. If there's any late penalties that goes into it, there's a lot of things that can come up. And as you may or may not know, the first couple years, you're not paying a ton of your principal interest down due to the amortization schedule. And so it's really important just to know those numbers, to know if you're unhappy, we can certainly make a move. However, are you going to have, the handsome payoffs? Definitely not. And as a buyer, you have still the opportunity in the spring market, more business, more stuff coming on the market, more things happening. As a buyer, you certainly have a little bit more power, a lot more power than you had during the COVID years. And ultimately, it was put together. So, as we recap, the buyer called me. We went and looked at houses one day. He picked one. We were under contract. About a week later, that fell out because the seller couldn't come to the table with funds because they were, quote unquote, upside down by a small amount. And we just said, okay, let's release them. Let's, give that, some peace. We don't need to be in court. We don't need to do those things. And then we turned it around, right? We said, okay, he released earnest money. We went on our way. We went out that next weekend, found him a home. And I said, we got to close this by the end of February. I think it was probably 4, 5, 6, 10 days later than he was going to close originally. So really cool to see that, but that is the state of the market. I can talk stats all day, I can talk all the things, but at the end of the day, somebody that I knew from, elementary school reached out because his daughter, remembered that I had this Why Invest Wednesday podcast show, whatever you want to call it. And he just said, hey, can you help me? And I said, yeah. And, it was that same conversation. I don't know how quick it's going to be. I don't know how this is. It was great. He had, flexibility, but I said, now's the time. Let's go. If you're comfortable, you have some money to put down, you're comfortable with that payment, let's go dial it in. Connected him with the lender, got pre-approved right away, went out and saw houses one day, had the one incident, left that deal, went out and saw houses the next day, got under contract and got moved. Right? And so this is opportune time for the buyers in the spring market, because before, now that interest rates have dipped a little bit and all the things, they're not low by any means. Don't run out there and, say I'm telling you that interest rates are low compared to what they used to be. But there are opportunities, and the team you surround yourself with, this is a common theme that I'm talking about right now. Every situation is different, right? On the back end of this, I had somebody who cashed out some Bitcoin and bought a house in cash in 6 days, right? Literally contract to close in 6 days. This is stuff that is going on. This is stuff that can happen. And sellers are like, okay, let's go, right? Because it's less showings, less offers, less things like that. But there are opportunities. There are good homes out there. And the truth is, the good news is that homes haven't decreased a ton in value overall, but they have, if it's a short turnaround, you have fees, you have a lot of things. You're going to lose some money, especially if you have a loan and you purchased in the last year or two or whatever it is, because the homes just haven't appreciated enough to have the professional services and all those things. So super important right now that you understand your rights, your everything that's going on, because you do have opportunity. It is fast moving still, although it's not super pressure cooker feeling. And that's the best I could do for you right now on the market is just live your story. Every story is a little bit different. And as we kind of progress through this and we understand what's going on, there's opportunities to be had. There's winners and losers in every market. And the only, the starting point of that decision is your story, where you're at, what you're doing. So I just wanted to share this story about this family. Got their keys to their brand new home yesterday, and just congratulations to them. You know who you are. Can't wait to, see your family grow into the home. Can't wait to see what you do with that extended, huge tandem garage. And just know that there's opportunity. It's really important that you understand what your options are, right? Because as an agent, I was able to talk to him and just say, hey, look, we can do this. We can tie this up in court, and eventually he'll sell you the house. But essentially, we're going to be throwing money at it. He's going to be saving money. It's not going to take him that long to save that amount of money. And then we're just going to have wasted money. He'll be like, okay, we can sell it, and now we go our different ways. So that's the moral of the story. Look at all your options. What does it look like? We have a very litigious society. There's no reason to tie things up in court and make everybody's lives miserable when there's other opportunities out there. And other agents might not have had that perspective and said, let's go find another house. We're going to close by the end of the month. Let's go. So every story is different, especially in this market. Like I said, 4 listings coming on: Castle Rock, Loveland, and 2 in Denver. So if you're out there and you're looking, let me know. Would love to touch base with you anyways, see how you're doing, check in, reach out, DM me, let me know how I can help. And let's get a win today, as I say on the other real estate channel. So like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.